Hello and welcome to the Creative Flow Method. My name is Elise and I help people to heal and manifest their dream life using art. If you are returning or you're listening to me on Spotify, thank you much for your support. And if you are new here, welcome to the channel. If you find this information to be helpful, make sure to subscribe so that you get more information on flow state, creativity, intuition, manifestation, and all of the neuroscience that backs this information. What happens to create the identity and the self-concept, and then how to rebuild the new self-concept and to be in the direction that you want and tapped into your highest timeline or highest self. So the first thing we want to talk about is what makes up our personality. Now, I like the way that Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about it, where he says that your personality is your personal reality. So your personality is your personal reality. And the way that you have gotten to the behaviors that have long-term created your personality is, so you have an emotion, then you have a thought, then you have the action moving forward, and then those repeated actions over time create your personality or your personal reality. And so if you're watching this video, you may be just going through your spiritual awakening and you're starting to question all the things around you and you're starting to ask yourself, what do I want in life? I'm watching all of these other people manifest and it just seems like a buzzword. I'm not really sure in how to do it. And so today I'm going to talk about how to create your own personal reality, or how to reshift your self-concept or your personality. And this is based on your emotions and thoughts and then actions over time repeatedly, which creates your behaviors. Let's just get right into it. One of the reasons that I resonate with Dr. Joe Dispenza's work is that he does a lot of work on the power that our thoughts have to heal our bodies. So the first discovery was, wow, our thoughts are really playing a large role in how we feel, and thoughts are making people sick. So then could thoughts make people better? And the answer at a scientific level is yes. There are people who are self-healing all over the world all the time, and also consistent studies being done now on the power that we have to heal our bodies. And part of that, I believe, is being in alignment with our purpose, being in alignment with our joy, and keeping the energy flowing in our body. You're going to hear me talk about this a lot, because trapped energy in the body is what leads to dis-ease of flow or disease. And that's the non-function of your energy centers being in alignment with who you came to be. And so a lot of people are living out patterns they were taught, some maybe by their parents or by school. And in their first career, everybody goes to school and then gets a career, and then they're supposed to be married and have kids. And so maybe for a while you're just on this path doing what you thought everyone did. And now you're looking around and going, wait a second, not everybody's doing it that way. How can I do things differently? And I wish that I could tell you that you are not going to go through an entire transformation of your life, because it would be a lot easier if things didn't have to crumble around you. It'd be a lot easier if people changed before they got to the point that their mental health turned into disease, like myself. I have definitely learned the hard way. So if that's you, like, you're not alone. I've gone through quite a few of these cycles of having a trauma happen and mental illness, and then down the line, my coping behaviors led to disease and that trapped energy in the body. A lot of people come to my work when they are going through a transformation, when they're saying, you know what, I actually want to create the life that I want. I want to be the artist of my reality. I want to live the life that I feel, make me feel the most alive, bring me the most joy, make me feel like I'm walking in my purpose. And that's also the thing that's going to keep you the most motivated in a long-term goal, which essentially manifestation is defining a long-term goal and working backwards. Okay, I like the term manifestation because it also invites this energy that like this, the new age spirituality of we have this timeline and we're tapped into that highest self timeline, and I feel the most inspired by that. And that to me is that connection to the divinity, what's happening when you are in creative flow state or doing a creative practice, which is why I teach it as a ritual, a spiritual ritual to come home to yourself. And that's what this video and episode are all about, is that art of coming home to who you truly are, looking at the things that are in your life that are serving you and the behaviors that it took to get there, and then some things that are not serving you, and then what behaviors are leading to that. I am recently sober. I was sober curious for about 2 years. It was a very difficult time for me. I was dealing with a lot of shame around even just the fact that I couldn't stop drinking. I wanted to. I would go a while, and then when I broke it, then I would spiral. And I'm like, how can I interrupt this pattern? Right? So that's one of the patterns that I interrupt. That's one of the patterns in my life that I said, oh, these actions are not leading to what I want. Because on the other side of that, how I felt having that be my personality, I felt like I didn't trust myself. I felt like I wasn't living up to my fullest potential. I had feelings of shame. I had feelings of anger at myself, feelings of sadness. So this is where I started to identify the problem. I think most people who have quit drinking know that when alcohol is a problem, when you're unable to quit an addiction. And that's essentially has happened with me many times. I also I'm in eating disorder recovery. So many years of also being addicted to food, addicted to the pattern that came from binging and purging. I could look at those behaviors and say, those aren't what I want to keep doing, but I was continuously still doing them. And so I needed to interrupt the pattern, because that pattern was making a personality that I didn't like. I didn't like the version of me, and I felt like she wasn't living up to her fullest potential. I felt like she was wasting time and not reaching her potential. One of the things that I really like to do is called dream life scripting. And this is a really powerful way to define the life that you want. So if you get rid of all of the noise in your life, you're like, I don't like my job, I don't like my relationship, I feel like I'm stuck. Okay, with all of that turned off, what would be your wildest dream of what you could create for yourself? A lot of times people come to me and they want to make a specific type of art, or, be a type of artist, be a DJ, make custom hats. Those are just some examples from people in my life who I've coached. And then this became their income, their passion, their full time. And so in the beginning, it's just asking yourself, what would I want with my life? What am I most attracted to? What do I like to do? When I was a little kid, what did I love to do the most? I would do it all day. That's your flow state. That's where the inner child feels safe. That's where you are integrating the version of yourself that you are now at the age you are now with all of the things that light you up. Because when you're a kid, you are just excited and you're doing the things that you love. You haven't had the patterns, the limiting beliefs that over time led you to the career that maybe you're unsatisfied with, or lowered your self-worth and ended up in a relationship you're not satisfied with. And this isn't advice to tell everyone to leave their job or leave their relationship, but if that is you, this video is for you, because the dissatisfaction that is around those major life agreements, that is where you can create significant amount of change by really identifying, what do you want a relationship to look like? And when it comes to the dream reality as far as career, I have found in my own path that I was like, I want to be a full-time artist. And what I actually found on the other side of starting to make art and fueling most of my time to art after I went through this dream life scripting process, which I'm going to explain to you, I started to realize, it took about a year, that art was what was supporting me through the transformation that was happening in my life. My relationships falling away, my business falling away. I lost all of my money. I got really sick. All of these things were happening, but I had art to really keep me going. And that was my passion. And my passion being that I just did it all the time because I like to do it and because it raised my vibration was how I readjusted to my new life and got clear on what I wanted and then exactly called it in. The manifestations that I have at this point in my life, the health, the wealth, the insane apartment with wild amenities, aligned relationships, and I feel like I'm on my highest path. That was all supported through my joy in times where everything had to transition. And from a quantum perspective, and what Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about a lot, is that it's because you're entangled in other fields of energy. So all of those things that you like to do, you think make you who you are, they're all part of your aura. They're all closely tied to you. And in order for you to redefine yourself, you have to cut the cords, because those cords are keeping you in behavioral loops. And so everything will have to fall away. And so for me, art, I wanted it to be my full-time thing, but at this point I don't, because I've got full clarity on actually where my gifts are. And my gifts are that I am pursuing my PhD in the field of psychology, specifically transpersonal psychology, and I study the spiritual connection that happens through creative flow state. And I love research because I would like to implement changes in the world of mental health, and there is significant research that is backing that even complex PTSD, and in particular complex PTSD, can be overcome and turn into post-traumatic growth, have that shift, is incredible, because most medications don't do that. And that is how we are treating a lot of people with complex PTSD, myself included. But there is significant research that is backing that creativity and creative flow state actually has the power to overcome the neurochemistry that happens when we save a moment in our mind with PTSD. It's all of this cascade of neurochemistry that then saves in the body, then changes how we behave. And that's that trapped energy I'm talking about. And the reason why I'm so fascinated with it is A, because I've seen it completely change my life, and B, I like being on the research side. I am a nerd. I like to research. I like quiet time. I also like art for that reason. It is my quiet time. It is my raise my vibration time. It is check in with myself. It is a moving meditation. And that's actually how I teach the creative flow, is a moving meditation to grow your self-awareness. And like at simple terms, I started this thinking, could it be possible that I make money off of who I am? Can I make money off of doing what I want to do in the world? And in the meantime of this dream life scripting process and me acquiring this reality, stepping into this reality, was just in practice over time, limiting the beliefs that were keeping me stuck, because we are creating our reality based on what we put our attention around. And I'm going to talk about the neuroscience of this, because a lot of people think about manifestation and they're like, that's so woo-woo, it's just a buzzword. And actually, it's quantum science. And the way that it's impacting your psychology and the way that you can really create a life that you want to live and that you love living is incredible. So let's talk about the neuroscience of manifestation. And to do that, we need to talk about the brain's reticular activating system. I know it's a big word, but essentially its function is when people say yellow car and then everywhere around you see a yellow car. That is your brain's reticular activating system at work. And it's part of your subconscious mind. And when you are taking in information in your daily life, you can only take in so many bits per second of information through your senses, or 80 bits of that is just your hearing. And so what the brain's reticular activating system does is tells you what to pay attention to. This is why vision boards absolutely 100% work. This is why the art that I teach around sacred geometry and spirit animals and all these, that's why it works, because you are using your brain's reticular activating system to your advantage, instead of it looking for your patterns from the past, instead of it being your personal reality created by who you don't want to be. The brain's reticular activating system can be tuned to your desired reality. And that's time practice over time. That is a big part of growing your self-awareness using these methods that I'm teaching. And So the dream life scripting process is getting very clear on the character that you embody. So a lot of people like to use vision boards in order to manifest material things, and that's incredible. You can do that. I'm amazing at manifesting material things, but what I find to be more interesting is how I use it to live in abundance, not just have the abundance or attract these certain things that represent abundance, but rather it's not the thing, right? It's how it's being embodied. And so the dream life scripting practice takes you through identifying your character and seeing that future self, that highest self, as a character. What do they do? What do their relationships look like? And I don't mean do like their work, which that's important, but what's the day-to-day habits? What are the actions that are playing out in their life? For example, in order to be the healthy individual that I am today, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis last year. And I still, I go to therapy every week for chronic pain. I have a lot of doctor's appointments. And when I was first diagnosed, I didn't want to make that part of my identity, and I didn't. And I asked myself, what would healthy Elise do? Like, I'm not going to make decisions from the standpoint of now I have a disease. I'm going to make standpoints from the highest version of me who's already done it. What did she do to get there? And then I went down the line of all of the things that started showing up in my reality for me to try. I did a number of different modalities, and all of those things led to this healthier version of me. Along the way, I became a fitness instructor. I would have never imagined that I'd become a fitness instructor. I never wanted to be a fitness instructor, in fact, but I love body combat and body pump so much and I do it so consistently. And the only thing that kept me showing up, at a certain point, I needed to teach the class. I needed to lead, because if I was leading, I made a commitment no matter what the pain was in my body. So knowing myself, I like to serve a community. I like to be a leader. And me becoming a fitness instructor not only made me healthy, and I didn't even think about it at the time, but I'm also in full recovery from an eating disorder. I did not think that body movement was such an important piece of that, but I sat down and I did the dream life scripting process, and I looked at what did healthy me do. And she went to all these classes that now I teach, and she ate a whole foods diet, which now I do. And she was an intuitive eater, which now I am. All of these things took that first definition of what would health look like for Elise, not the version that I'm in now, but the version that I would feel like my highest self and my purpose is helping me to tap into. And if you have a hard time with this, there's a meditation on my page. I'm going to link it below. It's also going to be above, and it will help you it will guide you to having a conversation with your highest self. Quiet the mind. Get the mind out of the way. Get into the body and connect with your spirit. Use your body as a way to gain access to this information and regulate your nervous system. This outside noise can turn down a little bit. And it's only a 5-minute practice. And I promise there's no one who's ever said I left that meditated feeling worse than before. No, it's inspiring. And you'll be surprised by the things that show up when you can quiet the world around you. So I'm going to link that in the show notes. Regulating your nervous system, doing a meditation, quieting the space. The second is preparing your space for something like this. If you live a busy lifestyle, maybe you're trying to add your passion project on top of your everyday life. Maybe you're a parent, maybe you run a business. You need to prepare your space in order for you to tap in and tune in and put your attention in this place where your highest self is waiting and already has communicated with you. If you're watching this and you're wondering if that's true, you're on a timeline right now where this world, this universe is telling you that that is a possibility. Your choice and free will to take action towards that place. But preparing your space is just as important. Everything is energy. I talk about that all the time. And one of the things about preparing your space is not just having your quiet space for 30 minutes minimum, which is the absolute minimum, but a quiet space for 30 minutes, set your space using a sound frequency. You want to start using sound frequencies to help regulate your nervous system and tune into different chakra points. You may not understand it now, and it is science backed, and frequency is very important. You want to put on a sound frequency that is going to bring in your highest self. You can even look up like sound frequency for love, sound frequency for creativity. Just search this on Spotify, on YouTube, wherever you get your music from. You're going to find a lot. I put these sound frequencies in the meditations that I post on YouTube. This highest self meditation has a sound frequency already as part of it, and you want to listen to that when you're in the meditation. So another thing that I like to do is clear my space. I use sage the reason that I use sage is that people have been using it for centuries. There's a reason. And smell is also one of the subconscious triggers that is the strongest. If you've ever had a memory of your great grandmother or, someone in your life that used to cook a specific type of food, when you smell it, it takes you right back to that place. That is that subconscious influence that smell has over our attention. I want to use that to your advantage, and using sage, because I've used it so many times to start a practice of getting in tune with myself, my brain and body already know what's coming, and it starts to calm everything down. As soon as I smell sage, I'm like, okay, I'm getting ready to tap into spirit. I'm getting ready to have a conversation with the universe. I need to clear the energy of where I'm at and set my intentions that I'm going to use the next 30 minutes to get clear on this dream life, on that character, on what they do, on how they do it, on what their behaviors are, how they feel every day. So that's another thing that I like to do, clear space. If you don't have that, just setting your intentions is going to be a really powerful way to set the space, because this is an energetic space that you're stepping into. I have the Dream Life Scripting process. It is also a step-by-step workbook that is broken down for you, and it is found on my Etsy shop at Divine Digital Design. It will also be linked below, and it's going to take you through those character questions that will help you to arrive at the point where you're going to have your script ready, see that this is you, however many years you want to go out. I like to tell people 1 year. You want to speak in your script as if it's already happened, as if this is you and this is your life and this is what you do in your day to day. 1 year out, what does that version of you do? If you're tapped into your highest timeline, and you finish the meditation, you're sitting down, you've scripted your reality. Now I want to talk about how to integrate that reality. Integration is one of the most important things when you're learning new information, when you are creating new neural pathways. Integration is how you're going to not just take this one art experience or this one dream lifing experience, and you're going to make it into your lifestyle and actually start to live that reality. And by the time that 1 year passes, you have completely switched into this dream version of yourself. Now, once you have that script ready, you need to read it every day. You need to tune yourself to that frequency as if it's already happened every single day. And you will be surprised at the magic that shows up in your life when you start to do that, because there are going to be very challenging times when the old version of you are going to be challenged with the new behaviors. The new behaviors are not going to be easy because your subconscious is trying to keep you safe. And the way that it keeps you safe is by playing out the same pattern over and over and over. If it can predict the future, then it's keeping you safe, because it doesn't know what's going to happen if you're not predicting the future and moving in a pattern. And that's where nervous system regulation comes in. That's where creativity comes in. That's where meditation comes in. That's where your day-to-day life, you making that choice and saying, no, I no longer spend my time and energy in this place because it doesn't serve me. And that can be, like I said, your relationship, your day-to-day, the habits that you have. That is how you define. And when those things come up, that's when you go to the tools. That's when you go to meditation. I found one of the biggest things that helped me to be sober and live in recovery is art practices that were a mindful meditation to help me grow my self-awareness. Because in the moment when I'm triggered about something, I want to use this coping mechanism, whatever it is that you're into, most attracted to when you're self-sabotaging, whether that's relationships, sex, money, drugs, alcohol, food, whatever that behavior is. When you're drawn to that behavior, it's because there was a trigger. To unlock your triggers at a place of empathy and understanding and open-mindedness, which is how I teach the creative flow practice that I teach on this channel. That is how you learn more about yourself and say, oh, I was triggered because in the past, whenever I went through something, I would want to dissociate. emotionally I shut down. I don't want to feel it. I don't feel like that's safe. All of these reasons. But in that moment, making a new choice to, I'm going to regulate my nervous system. I'm not going to go towards this self-sabotaging behavior. I am going to lean into this feeling, into its close, which now we know science is back that you only need to feel an emotion for, I think it's only 90 seconds. That seems not right to me. So I'm not going to, that's what it is. But something very small like this, when we don't try to shut down that emotion. Life is giving me this trigger as an opportunity to grow, and I'm going to lean in and I'm going to learn more about myself. And in that learning more about myself, I'm going to choose the new path in alignment with the dream life that I know that I am capable of creating. So that's how the dream life scripting works. It seems very complex, but at its base, it's very simple. It's who do you want to be? Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? Who do you want to be there with? In order to be that person, what do you need to do? And then when the emotional triggers come up, how are you going to change your behavior? Because those emotions can't be avoided, but the thoughts forming together and then them creating a behavior, the behavior that you take because of those emotions and thoughts is on you. That's your free will. You came here with that choice, and you can choose to keep living a life where you're unsatisfied, or to learn how to be in the uncomfortable unknown and create a life that you're proud of, that you show up for every day, excited about. And I'm not going to say I'm excited every single day, but I definitely feel blessed and lucky to be living a reality that I wanted rather than a reality that someone else created for me. And that's how you become the artist of your life. And that's how you come home to yourself. You have to ask yourself, who do you want to be? And there's a lot of times in your life when you're going to go through a period, like we all go through the seasons. You're going to go through some time where maybe something traumatic happened. Maybe you did lose your job. Maybe you lost a family member. Maybe you were in an accident. Maybe you have a chronic health condition. All of these things, I have experienced them. And I can tell you that my identity was shifted at those points. My self-concept was changed by those events. And the difference between post-traumatic stress and post-traumatic growth is implementing strategies that allow you to not be in the same behaviors and patterns and loops again and again, especially dealing with stress. You don't have to go down that road of numbing yourself to life. And for me, it took quite a few periods, longer, years, for me to realize that there was a version of me that was sober and that was in recovery and that didn't feel pulled to it all the time, that was healthy. This is possible. If you are listening to this, it's because it's possible for you too. Whatever is in your reality, in your aura, in your field, is the universe is showing you what's possible on this planet. For you and for others, depending on your discernment, but the environment that you are surrounded with, this is that entanglement back to the beginning of what is around your bubble. The things that are the closest are what make up your personality. The things that you do again and again and again, and the spaces that you're in and again and again. What your apartment looks like, what kind of car you drive, what kind of job you go to, who's there. Those people are representing the closest energetic chords to you. And in order to quantum leap into the ones where you're like, I just listened to this girl on a podcast tell me how to create the life that I want and how to do it in less than 30 minutes every single day. Wow, it's possible for them to make money doing the things that they like. Wow, it's possible for this person to quit their job and completely change their life for the better. And this person to, stop X, Y, and Z, all of these things, live a healthy lifestyle. If that is outside of your aura, you're going to have to cut a lot of cords that are keeping you trapped in the one that you're in. If it's in your reality right now, you have to understand that it is a possibility. On a quantum scientific basis, if it's in your field, if you have had the opportunity to observe something, if you observe someone doing something, that means that it is possible on this planet. Now it's about what of those elements do you want to embody in your life in order to have that reality that right now may seem very different than the way that you're living your life. I really believe that you're not just here to be one personality for the rest of your life. I think that all of these things that happen for us, they help us to grow as a human being and to evolve the planet and evolve the consciousness and our awareness. It helps us to build lives that are happier. And in order to do that, you have to integrate tools that are going to help to create your new personal reality. What do you want your personal reality to look like? How do you change your actions through, biohacking your thoughts, which is what Creative Flow does. But in this episode, we're talking about personality specifically. I didn't use the word self-concept a lot, but this is the self-concept, what we're talking about. And a lot of times when people come to my work, they have a negative self-concept, meaning they have a lot of limiting ideas and beliefs about themselves and their self-worth that keep them tied into patterns and loops and behaviors that they feel no longer serve them. When you find my work, hello, you have arrived. It is because you are ready to challenge those. It's because I offer tools and a framework that help you to challenge it at a neuroscience and scientific level so that you can feel confident that implementing these strategies in your life. How does a new script help me to be the character in the future? We talked about the brain's reticular activating system. Okay, it helps to tune you to the reality that you want to be tuned into. This is why vision boards really do work. And if people say that they don't, which I rarely ever hear anymore, it's because they're not doing it right. Their thoughts and their behaviors are not in alignment and they do not have a regulated nervous system. These things are really simple when we break them down. Extremely simple. Who do you want to be? Do you have a positive self-concept? In the areas that you don't have a positive self-concept, what actions could you do that might change that? So to walk through this dream life scripting practice, I have a workbook available on Etsy. I think it's $3.69. This dream life scripting process will have an overview of the things that we talked about at a neuroscience level. And also it will take you through the step-by-step journal prompts that you need in order to get very clear on the character of you. And that's the only thing you need to do right now. Don't worry about all of the other things. There's going to be a lot of things there's going to be a lot of limiting beliefs that come up. There's going to be a lot of magic that comes, now that your brain reticular activating system is going towards the reality how do you discern what is the message telling you? And it's very, very exciting when you start getting very clear and intentional with your life, with your spelling to the universe, with the words that you are paying attention to, with how you walk in your day-to-day. Your dream life script is going to be your biggest tool for transformation because it is what helps you to ask yourself, what is that personal reality that I am tapping into? And the second thing is the highest self meditation. If you do nothing today after watching this video, do the highest self meditation. Just get that little bit of feedback from your highest self. What is the next step forward? And they are going to be able to provide that for you in the meditation, which I will have linked below. Thank you for staying to the end of this episode. If you did, please remember to subscribe to the channel because you're obviously interested in the same types of things that I share on this page. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video or in the next episode.